Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Finance Agents Live. This is episode number 43. 43. Today I'm Tim MC and I'm here with Trey Sublette. We're excited to be here talking about a not very exciting topic, I guess you should say, but an important one for you to know about. We're going to be talking about fraudulent funding services. There's a lot of them out there, and we're going to be telling you how you can avoid getting ripped off and how you can stay out of jail by avoiding these fraudulent funding services. Before we get into that, though, a reminder, if you're new to the show, please subscribe. If you come back all the time and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Actually, right now is a real interesting, exciting time for us on the whole subscribe thing.
10 away.
We are currently at 990 subscribers. Ever since we launched the show, I've been shooting for that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I believe we're going to hit it today, probably live while we're on the show, because right now we're at 990. If you're listening, subscribe and help us get over the mark. When we do, we have some fireworks, sort of, not actual fire, but something like fireworks that we're going to be shooting off. So you get to enjoy, celebrate that with us. All right, moving on. Next week, we're going to be talking about our last 10 401k rollover clients. These are B2A clients. I did a show with Ben Morris about a month ago, and we had a lot of interest, a lot of good questions, comments, and people wanted to get, they said, hey, here's some more examples of clients.
Will Ben be here?
Ben is going to be here live in the office, and we're going to be going through all, some examples just so you get a good, clear idea on the range of services that are available. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and launch into fraudulent services. We're going to be talking about what to watch out for. But before we do, Trey, you got a disclosure?
Absolutely. These are our opinions only, based off our experience.
Good opinions.
Good opinions. Based off our experience over the last 10 years.
Right.
Things we've seen. So, we're in the business of helping people. So this is a very important topic because these are going to be topics that kind of are a detriment to our industry. So
yeah.
Definitely want a disclaimer, our own personal opinions. We're not necessarily supported by direct knowledge of any company mentioned whatsoever.
Yeah, we're going to be pointing out specific companies, and we want you to know that we're not saying we specifically know that they're fraudulent, but I will tell you right now that the things they're doing scream fraud, and we're going to tell you why. But there's always some random chance that it's not fraud, so don't sue us. But between you and me, it probably is. All right, so again, we're going to be talking about two different types of things. Services that defraud you, rip you off, steal your money, and services that defraud the bank and unwittingly put you in danger of going to jail. And this is not an empty threat. We've actually seen people go to jail. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff over the years. So this is real, and you want to watch out for it. All right, so jumping right into it. We have a few things we're going to cover, a couple that we're not. So we're going to go over, in general, business credit builder services, shelf corp or aged corp services. We'll talk about credit repair services. Not saying they're all fraudulent, but what to look out for when you're looking for fraud. Offers for aged trade lines or CPN, one of our favorites. Right. We'll talk about different things to watch out for that are pure bank fraud that you want to steer away from. We'll talk about a little bit about credit partners. It's not necessarily fraud, but there's things to look out for that. And then debt settlement services. Again, not necessarily fraud, but some things to know about so you understand what it really is, because often it's a little bit different than what they're saying. And again, if you have a specific service where you're wondering, is this fraud? Don't be afraid to put an actual company in there. We will give you our informed but still opinion on that company and let you know what we think of it. All right, so jumping right into the first one. Before we get into it, let's talk about the current market a little bit.
Sure.
So we've been doing this a long time, Trey, and again, when I first got into here, I thought finance was straight edge and normal and consistent, and I've seen some crazy stuff.
Exact opposite.
So what would you say is the current situation, the current market as compared to over the last 10 years?
I would say looking back maybe 6, 7, 10 years ago, it's definitely, I think we're in a better position than it was in the past. I will recall some examples of people from shelf corps and CPNs and other things, credit partners, where people were spending a good amount of money and it was severely at a waste. So I think as an industry we've gotten better, I think our economy's better than it was in 2008, 2009.
Right.
So that, no matter what, people are going to need help when it comes to their business. And so the topics we have today, I think we're in a better seat or better position than we were many years ago.
Right. One of the specific parts of the industry is the business credit builder services out there that used to charge $5,000. Those are almost all gone. Thank goodness, because that was a total ripoff.
Right. So when we first started doing this, I remember back in 2008, 2009, when we were taking on clients for one of our main programs, we would get some business credit. Out of $300,000, about 50 would be business credit, like Dell or Staples, because there was a benefit
on
for
the credit
that.
building.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean as a part of our service?
Part of our
we
services.
Used to do that,
so
right?
out of 300,000, 250,000 was cash credit, and a sliver was business credit. Because there is a benefit if the client, like a sporting goods store, may need certain vendors.
Right.
There was a need at that point in time. But it's kind of transformed or evolved into people have a feeling that, hey, build your business credit profile and funding come right behind it.
Great. Yeah, it's totally changed. All right, so first of all, when we're getting into it, let's start with what's the hub of all financial fraud, right? Where do you find it? All of it is on Craigslist. Again, I'm not saying everything on Craigslist is fraudulent. There's plenty of real stuff. Heck, we've advertised on Craigslist. Great place to do job listings. But man, you get some sketchy stuff in there. So go to Craigslist and in the services section, click on the financial services. Go in there and you're going to find all sorts of really interesting stuff. And I pulled out some examples for you guys. I do see we have our first question. Somebody's asking about Fund and Grow, also associated with Caden Credit Repair. So we'll actually look at the website. Stay with us. After we've gone through some of this, we'll go look at the website and give you our thoughts just looking at the website. Sure. All right, so first of all, in Craigslist, the first section we're going to be talking about is, Dan, if you could move along a little bit here. Keep going. Keep going. All right, well, I think we have an example. I don't know if you're showing the example. One of the examples I put on there is if you just go to Craigslist and put in CPN, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about a little bit, CPN's credit partner number, almost every result that comes up to that is pure fraud, right? But before we do that, let's go ahead and go back to the business credit builder section, what we already started to talk about, and I'll tell you what it is. First of all, business credit builder services. These are services where somebody goes and develops and enhances your business credit in order to help you get better funding. Now, in its core, there is nothing wrong with that service, but there's a lot of people, and it used to be worse, a lot of people that do a lot of lies regarding the business credit building process. And what we want to do is point out some of those things that are red alerts where where maybe this isn't a reputable business credit building service. So what are the things that you look out for that you used to see that are real
I'll say
bad?
one of the first things you want to talk about is a Paydex score. Over time, people had that belief that if you have an 80 Paydex score, you're going to qualify for business funding.
Paydex Score is a credit score issued by Dun & Bradstreet.
That's right.
Now, there's nothing fraudulent about having a Paydex score. What is the red flag for you?
The red flag is people have that belief, Trey, I have an 80 Paydex score, what type of, how much can I qualify for as far as business funding? And it's simply, that's not the case. There were some lenders around 2009, 2010 that did lend on having a good Paydex score. That's been extinct for some time now.
Right. So lenders will look at it. The issue, the red flag you want to look out for is when they tell you you're going to get funding based on your EIN or Paydex and not your social security number. I think that's the screenshot we show for you there. This is pulled from Credit Suite. Credit Suite has been around forever. I'm not saying they're a fraudulent service, but that one thing, when they tell you you're going to get funding based on your EIN, which is your business social security number, and not your personal one, 99% of the time, that is misleading at best, if not a total lie. Because when you go to the banks and apply for funding, they're going to say, great, your business looks good, who's the owner? And they're going to want to check your personal credit. All right, so don't believe it or ask that question, hey, what are you saying I can actually get without having credit score? Most of the business credit building services, when they actually get you funding, will send you to somebody like us who is going to apply, and we're going to be checking the personal credit. The lenders will check that. There's no way around it. All right, so here's another screenshot from another website, which is way worse. Get the funding you need to grow your business with your company EIN, not your social security number. And I'm telling you right now, that is a lie. Look, and this is what you used to see all the time. You don't see that much anymore, but I just found it this morning on Craigslist. We guarantee your business a minimum of $50,000 in business credit. Established businesses get up to $250,000 to $5 million. So at one point, our company decided we're going to offer a business credit building service. I see some value there. I don't know why people are paying $5,000. Let's do it for $500. And were you a part of that
I was.
experiment?
I was. Yeah.
So what happened when you tried to sell that service for $500?
Usually that's not the main goal, right? That's not their ultimate goal. But it was a step in the right direction. So it was someone who was not fundable from a traditional lender's standpoint. So that was the only thing we can offer at that point in time.
Right.
To utilize this and hopefully repair what you've done, get yourself in a better position, and go from there. So that was, $500 business credit builder. That was some time ago.
Yeah, the weird thing, this is a long time ago, right? What was weird to me is I knew people were selling it for $5,000. We tried selling it for $500 because we thought it was about what it was worth, and we couldn't sell it. And we were having trouble. We were like, we can't sell this. So finally I went and I interviewed a guy who was selling for another company. I said, come in here, tell me how to sell this. What are we doing wrong? He said, I can sell this all day long. I was like, great, how do you do it? He said, well, we guarantee somebody $50,000 in funding. I said, well, how the heck are you going to do that? He goes, well, what I do is I tell them, I'm probably going to get you $80,000, but I guarantee 50, and they'll pay a couple $1,000s. I said, well, but what if we don't actually get it? He said, they never check. And I was like, what? So you're just lying to people? And so at that point, we killed the project and said, we're not going to do this.
That's why we couldn't sell it.
Yeah,
that's exactly why.
That's why we couldn't sell for $500 because we didn't lie to people, and the other people are. Now, we do have a screenshot on here of a service run by Marco Carvalho, who's, full disclosure, he's one of our member offices. He runs a legitimate service to help you build your business credit. There are benefits to it. It's just not worth $5,000, right? So here's an example of somebody who's doing it right. Feel free to go to his website. It's businesscreditinsider.org. Is that right? I'm sorry. I should know the exact URL.
And Marco is a funding specialist. He
Yes.
is someone who helped people, his clients, get actual cash credit for their companies. So he's not just one of these fly-by-night business credit builders.
The thing is, if you look on his site, it doesn't say anywhere, get business funding with no social security number, right? That is the thing to look out for. That is usually a big lie. All right, so transitioning, let's go into the next section, shelf corps and aged corps. What's a shelf corp, Trey?
Shelf corp is something where someone forms a Delaware corporation or any state in, like, say, 2005, they kind of put it off on the side. And then they have a market where they go off and sell it to a potential buyer who, with the false promises, like, hey, buy this aged business, and then lenders will lend to you because of the age.
Right.
So some people call it shelf because they put it on a shelf. Some people call it a shell. But this is something that, it's been around for a long time. I remember back in the late 2000s, people would pay $10,000, $15,000 for an aged shelf corp. The worst I ever heard, and I remember exactly when I heard it, this one woman paid $30,000 for an aged business.
Well, look, I just beat it. If you show the screenshot here, this is a screenshot I pulled an hour ago from companiesinc.com, where you can go buy right now Sterling Pacific Group for $196,000. It's 110 years old. All right, so look, I have three things to say about aged corps. First of all, the benefit is not there. It does not give you that much benefit. If you want to get institutional finance, they're going to ask for tax returns and other things that you will not be able to provide because this is a fake company. All right, it's a real corporation, but it's not been in business. So first of all, the benefit's not there. Second, if you use this, you have to get comfortable with, some people may think, oh, I want to have a 20-year-old corporation. I'm going to look very legitimate. What you don't realize is that for the rest of your time running that business, you have to lie to everybody. You got to lie to everybody. And it's weird. In fact, on Companies Inc., if Darren goes to the next picture and shows you, I have a feeling that when that's their logo, Companies Inc., right at the top, I have a feeling they might not actually have been around for 112 years. And it's a perfect example of, you want to have the company anniversary. Are you going to lie and say that your company was around for 112 years?
One of the biggest things is,
ridiculous.
Lenders aren't stupid. Banks are pretty smart, and they're going to do their due diligence. And so the issue is people are given false promises by an aged shelf corp, and then funding will come right behind it, no matter what your credit's like, and that's just not the case.
Great. Okay, we have a couple comments coming in. There's a huge major redevelopment push here in Daytona. Just today I posted on a newspaper article. Does this have anything to do with Does that have anything to do, Darren, did you read that? Okay, I'll come back to that. If you think that relates to this, then I'll contact you. All right, so the next section we're going to talk about is credit repair. Now, credit repair in itself is not necessarily a fraudulent service. So let me just say that right there. But I have never talked to a single person who does credit repair who didn't say, we're different from everybody else. We can get rid of everything super quickly. No one's ever left behind. I mean, have you ever had somebody say, our service is medium, and most of the time we could do a decent job? Is that what they say?
Well, I mean, if you know me, I can't stand credit repair. All right. So, but the thing is, it can be a benefit, like you're saying, Tim.
Right.
Someone's taken the being proactive about getting them back in a better position. But at the end of the day, I have some preferences. You know, deal with someone you can deal with locally. You can meet face to face. Do your due diligence. Make sure you feel comfortable with the relationship. But false promises are galore within the credit repair industry, and some do provide a service, but a lot don't.
Great. All right. So here's an example that I pulled. Looking for this, all right? So 800 credit score in under 20 days, offering full file repair. I'm wondering, what does that mean? They add trade lines, all sorts of stuff. You know, you don't necessarily know if this is a fraudulent company based on this, but if you go to the next slide, I actually went to their website and looked at the details. I'm going to read this out to you. I want you guys to hear this. I've heard this so many times. This process usually takes us no longer than 3 days to complete.
Wow, that's awesome.
Warning! They're lying. I'm sorry. It's impossible. For all 3 credit bureaus, $750. That's actually a low price. $950 to add trade lines. And this is the part that I love the best, right? Unlike some reliable file repair services that issue disputes, which is the way most people work, we have a more effective method. By having direct access to the database of a bureau, we go in and edit a client's file. I'm sorry, if it's true, which it's not, it's 100% fraud, but probably it's not true at all, and they're just defrauding you. And this is the kind of stuff that really makes me angry. I don't know why they're still there.
Right.
Why doesn't the FBI shut them down or something? I don't know, but they're there. It just drives me crazy.
And even with the FCRA in place, the bureau has the credit card company has 45 days to respond after a letter has been issued from the bureau to determine if whatever information is correct.
Right. Of course, this is different than that. This guy is actually saying he's going into the credit bureau's databases and illegally editing your file. So just watch out for this kind of stuff, because this just kills me.
So we have Phyllis asking about Lexington Law. So
Lexington Law. Okay.
Lexington Law has
Great
been around
example.
for a while, and they do provide a service. They're more of a membership type of program, right, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I would say they're 100%. You can't have been around for as long as they have and been doing as much business as they have without being a fully legitimate service. The thing is, don't let somebody lie to you and tell you that they're going to be 100% successful within a short period of time. Of course, Lexington Law will never do that. So there are legitimate legal services out there. There's lots of them. Watch out for ones like this that are totally lying to you. My opinion. Okay, next, moving on. That's my opinion, but I mean, if I'm wrong, I'll be shocked.
Allegedly.
It's fine. I'll be shocked if that's not a total lie. All right, next we're going to talk about aged trade lines or auth user accounts. What is that? What would somebody sign up for?
Sure. In full disclosure, I mean, many years ago in late 2000s, we had a service in place. And so,
Really?
it was pre-Tim. So I saw it firsthand, and we no longer do it from a long time ago. But authorized users, or when you're adding someone else's credit, you're adding your name to their credit card.
How's it work? I want to get an auth user account. What does that mean?
I have a credit card. I add Tim McCormick to my account, my Discover card.
Okay.
All right, there you go. So you don't have the ability, you could actually have the ability to use it.
So it's an authorized user, means I get a card in my name, but I don't have the responsibility to pay the card. It's still your card.
And it's not based off your credit.
So if you add me, I can immediately inherit the good credit history that you have on that card.
That'd be correct.
That is what they're selling,
Yes.
right? So why is that not completely true?
Not completely true, because lenders discount that. They don't give you credit for that account. And each program, each different funding programs has a different credit requirements, but most lenders are not going to give Tim credit for the account I have based off my credit.
Bummer.
It used to be the different way, right?
Used to work for mortgages, I think,
Right.
but for business credit we've been doing it, I think, I've never seen it work in the last 10 years. In fact, clients come to us, we often have them remove their authorized user accounts. One of the dangers is Trey adds me, and then Trey maxes out the cards. All of a sudden, my credit gets ruined.
That's right.
Instead of helping me, it hurts me.
That's right.
Or what else tend to happen when somebody would purchase this service?
Well, they purchase the service. They pay their $400 right here for these accounts. They go off and get funding, get denials across the board, get inquiries. You've lost your shot to go to that bank for another 12 months. So this is definitely something that we cannot say, go do this, and then you're going to qualify for that.
Yeah, and what I remember seeing is somebody gets the line added, and then they try to go apply, and all of a sudden the line's gone by the time they apply. They could disappear. The credit bureaus can shut them down if they see a lot of weird stuff happening. So in general, it's probably a waste of money. At a minimum, it's dangerous for you. On the other side, is it bank fraud? This is actually what the member office the other day asked me about, which is why we're doing this show. Is it bank fraud to pay Trey to add me as an authorized user and then go apply for credit? My personal opinion is this is not actually bank fraud because he did actually add you as an authorized user. The other side of it is the banks understand an authorized user does not have a fiduciary responsibility for the card, and so you don't get the benefit. I think the real fraud is you don't get the benefit they're selling you that exists.
So the question posed by Joe that we were talking about earlier does actually have something to do with this. So it's a posting in a newspaper article that he read that said, if the city will pay for the infrastructure upgrades, my lending group will make funding available for reconstruction to anybody that wants to open a business there. So meaning they can lend money to anybody who's opening a business within that area.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible that some lenders would be willing to lend more in a specific area because it's growing quickly. So that's probably not enough to know if it's a fraudulent. I mean, it could be 100% legitimate. So I have no idea on that one. Right?
Last on the trade lines, you're right. Lenders don't see it as fraud. You may have an inflated credit score to buy a car, right? This is what we're talking about in regards to business funding.
It might work for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, next, moving on from trade lines. CPN. This is my favorite, man. I've seen basically, in my opinion, 100% of the time you hear the term CPN, run for the hills. It's total fraud. This one, I think, covers both. I think this is fraud to you because you're not getting what you think you're getting, and fraud if you actually use it to apply for lenders. I actually spent a little time researching this because if you go online, you'll see videos and websites that talk a lot about CPNs and why it's not fraud. But I went to government websites and saw actual opinions and comments from attorney generals saying it is fraudulent to apply for credit, putting down a CPN as if it's your social security number. So maybe I need to back up. What is a CPN?
CPN originally came out in the early 70s. So CPN came out for people of high net worth to protect their social security number.
And CPN stands for?
I don't remember.
Credit. Darn it.
I don't know.
It's a credit privacy number.
There we go.
Credit privacy number. That's what it is.
So people of high net worth would use it so they can, protect their social security number throughout the lending industry. But it had a function to it.
Right.
But then over the years it got twisted, especially in the 90s and 2000s, as far as people had derogatory credit. They were sold the idea, hey, buy a CPN, and then you'll be able to use that second profile to go off and get funding for your business.
Right. It's a lot easier to get a new social security number than to try to fix the old one. But what's often happening is, first of all, if you go apply for credit with a CPN, it is considered bank fraud. I've read right on different attorney general's websites that it's considered bank fraud. So this is one of those ones that can end you up in jail. Another one I read about a guy who was selling CPN numbers. I'm using the air quotes here because what he was really doing was he was going and taking children's social security numbers and selling it to people, calling it a CPN, and then applying for financing on their behalf. That is full-on bank fraud identity theft.
You will not see an application asking for your CPN from a bank.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
So here's a perfect example. If you go to Craigslist, type CPN, you're going to get stuff like this. With our proven method you're going to get 8 to 15 grand after we get you the client a fresh start to success, they call it. New credit profile. They're going to add trade lines. I mean, this is just fraud. They're going to add primary accounts. No back end fees. $1,500. That's $1,500 you're never going to see again, and you're not going to get the funding that you need. That's just all I can say for that. Okay. All right, bank fraud. This is and I got a fun example of pure bank fraud that Darren will show you in just a second. But we have a personal story. We have a company that we used to work with. They used to send a lot of clients to us. And then one day they started saying, hey, we got this other service. It's really cool. You probably want to use it. where now instead of just getting credit cards, you can go get full lines of credit from the bank, $100,000 to $200,000 for a brand new company. And we're like, well, how's that work? That doesn't, how's it work, right? They said, well, they incorporate, they build the business credit, they add things, they apply. And what really came out is that they're doing all sorts of fake stuff. They're creating fake tax returns, fake everything. And we said, no, we don't want to have anything to do with that. And what happened to the guy who was sending people to, it wasn't even the guy running the program, he was sending clients to the program. What happened to him?
No, he had to go to federal prison, right? He got arrested in LAX.
Silver handcuffs.
Right. So
he fled the country, tried to hide, and when he came back, they arrested him at the airport.
So bottom line is this. Sometimes you may get away with something as far as fraudulent in getting funding with a lender. But when you default, that's when the lenders are going to go and really scrutinize everything. And that's when they find that fraud is fraudulent tax return or financials, that's when it becomes serious as a federal crime and go to jail.
All right, so we got an example here. Again, I don't have personal knowledge of this company. Mr. Credit Smart might be doing something amazing. I think they're doing pure fraud. And if you look at the ad that I pulled out of Craigslist, you'll see it says for an amazing low price of $800, clients will receive a fresh start number, that's a CPN, tri-merged, meaning reported in all three bureaus, verified, approved, with an EIN and trade lines ready documents. Listen to this. Physical driver's license. What? They're going to make a driver's license for you? Copy of SSN. They're going to make a Social Security card for you? Utility bill, proof of residence? They are
forgers.
That is
forgery.
That is fraud. That is pure fraud. Run for the hills. Mr. Credit Smart, find a different job before you go to jail. That's all I have to say. All right, let's move on, because that is bad. All right, next, Darren. Oh, Darren's trying. All right, no PG funding. What do you think when you hear no PG? First of all, what's a PG, and what's it mean to have no PG funding?
Comes down to PG means personal guarantee, right? So when someone says, hey, Trey, I'm looking for no PG funding, that makes me go, oh. All right, so it really makes me, we all get different marketing emails every now and then, something like this, get no PG funding of $250,000, whatever it be. I've responded a couple over the years, right? Asking certain questions because I know it's not possible for the most part. So when someone says, hey, Trey, I'm looking for no PG funding, I immediately kind of feel like they're not going to be qualified. And I feel like I need to instruct them and guide them as far as what they.
So Trey,
yes,
what
sir?
is PG? Poltergeist?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Poltergeist.
What is PG?
Personal guarantee.
And what is a personal guarantee?
Personal guarantee is putting your name on the line as far as having liability if you were to default on the funds.
Yeah, now you can apply for funding with a bank and get no PG funding, loans without a personal guarantee. But that's generally only applies to really big businesses. If you're asking for it, you probably don't know how to get it. That means you don't qualify for it. For equipment, I'll give you a perfect example. You need to have 5 years in business, $5 million in annual revenue, at least 5 employees, and you need to have had other no PG funding in the past. And that's a lot to do. And that, so if you want to go get a loan with no PG, you've got to be a big company. It's not something you can go buy. And we have an example here, pulled out of Craigslist this morning. Need cash for your business? We can help you obtain up to $250,000 in unsecured business funding with no personal guarantee. I'm sorry, this is what I do for a living. That is a full-out lie. That's a lie. These guys are lying. My opinion, they're totally lying. Watch out for ads where they advertise no PG funding. If you're getting funding from a bank, they're going to want a personal guarantee. It's still business funding, but you need to personally guarantee.
Well, you have the no PG funding. You have the Shelf Corp.
There it is.
Just one more thing for a trifecta,
They do age lines. If you scroll down further,
lines,
which you can't because it's the screenshot, they had all that other stuff in there. So call them out. I wanted to call these guys on the call, but our lawyers told me that was probably not a good idea. But I would have loved to have called them up and put them on the spot right on the call. Maybe someday I'll figure out some way to do that. Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit about credit partners. It is not fraudulent to use a credit partner in order to apply for funding for your business, but what do you want to look out for, or what do we stay away from that you guys
You want to stay away from finding a credit partner on Craigslist. That's a pretty simple start right there. So we do have some programs that people utilize a credit partner. We're always stressing, make sure it's hopefully a family member, actually someone who's knows about the business. But Where you find fraudulent activity when it comes to credit partners is services that will match you up with someone.
Right.
And that's something you want to stay away from. Paying 20 grand for XYZ Corp to match you up with Alice to get you funding for a business. That's just a bad road you don't want to travel.
Disreputable people will gladly pay someone $20,000 to be a personal guarantor of theirs because they know that once they get the funding, they can use it to pay that person, and they never have to pay that money back. And who's going to suffer? The personal guarantor. So there are times that we do help somebody get funding using a credit partner, but it's going to be an actual business partner or family member or a longtime personal friend, someone who knows the business and who understands who that person is, and they understand that if something goes wrong, or at least they knew the person, and it's a buyer beware situation, we disclose that in advance. We make it very clear to the credit partner that they understand they're personally guaranteeing it, and if the business goes down, they're the ones that are going to have to repay the lines.
Yeah, we have welcome calls for a lot of our different programs for new clients, and oftentimes not often, but every now and then you'll find someone who is not who they are. So
Right.
very, very diligent, researching it. We do a pretty good job at that to prevent any fraudulent issues that may arise in the future.
Great. Frank's asking, can the credit partner be in a different state? Maybe, it gets a lot
Frank,
harder.
we talked about this yesterday, right? The answer to Frank's question is possibly yes, but it does cause red flags when someone's the PG, again PG for the funding, and the business is in a different state.
Yeah, they're in Washington, the company's in Florida, the banks are going, what's going on here? It doesn't make sense. It makes it less likely the person can actually have an active role in the business. It's possible. Right. There are online businesses, virtual businesses, but it's going to make it hard.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, and then the last topic we're going to cover today is debt settlement. Again, debt settlement is not necessarily fraud, although there are some lenders that are suing debt settlement companies for what's called tortious interference because the debt settlement companies are advising people not to pay their bills or pay on their debt. So, what is debt settlement, and when is it not fraud? In your opinion, Trey?
My opinion would be it's the end goal. So, what if I'm going through debt settlement? I'm told, hey, we'll sell these accounts for you at a lower price. You have to have your credit go into derogatory status, but then you'll be able to do this. So it really depends upon what they're kind of conveying, what's going to happen after the debt settlement.
Right. The magic promise of debt settlement is you're paying $5,000 a month in debt servicing and you can hardly manage it. Stop paying your debt. Let's save it all up into a pot. And then the lenders, you can negotiate a discount. You say, hey, I've got 20 grand. Can I pay off this $50,000 card? And lenders will do that. So this is a real thing. What is illegitimate, in my opinion, about a lot of debt settlement companies is that they'll save up this money, take all their fees in the beginning. They'll front load your fees. And then after 6 months, you've only saved a little bit of money. Would have been better just to save the money yourself and negotiate directly with the lenders. They do provide service, but watch out for the people that promise a specific amount knowing that you're probably going to fail on the payment plan and just end up losing all that money and you won't have it paid off. We have a question from Phyllis. What about surety bonds? Is it not like borrowing for collateral for a loan? Trey, this is your...
I'll leave it to Phyllis. Phyllis, that's a kind of a different question, right?
Surety bonds. A surety bond is something you have to
Right.
go get a surety bond before you do a construction project or
Right.
something. But
I don't have an answer for you, Phyllis.
surety bonds are a legitimate thing that are required for certain purposes. What I think
collateral.
maybe you might be saying is, man, we didn't even touch on this. I've heard, I guess some of the things we didn't even talk about are when people contact you, say, I'm a London investor, I want to invest in your business. All you got to do is put the first 10 grand in to
Proof
cover
of
the
funds.
taxes, and I'll give you $1 million. That's probably fraud. Run from that, you're about to get ripped off. Some people will create these very complex processes, and we had a group that we worked with years ago where we were getting funding for their clients, and then they were using that funding for what ended up being fraudulent, a fake investment scheme. That's something you want to look at. And their example was one of these really confusing processes where they say, well, what happens is the client puts in 100 grand, we put 10 of those together, now we have $1 million. We take the $1 million and we used it to buy some sort of a bond. We put it as a deposit on the bond. So now this $1 million has a bond note rate of $10 million. We take that $10 million and we offer it to somebody else who offers us a loan against the bond for $6 million. And you're like, whoa, this sounds really complex and awesome. Now I could put in $100,000 and I somehow end up getting $6 million. Guess what? It's never going to happen. It's a total lie. You're going to wait years and years, and we've watched it happen where people have said, I'm supposed to get my funding next month. I'm supposed to get my funding next month. Oh, one more month. After a while, they give up. They try to report it. It's too late. It's been 3 years, and the person, it's hard to actually crack down to these people. So watch out for these things. I've seen people actually get ripped off. So yeah, and it looks like that's what you're asking about, Phyllis.
So at the end of the day, we're in the helping business, right? We're helping people here at Finance Agents. We're helping our referral partners, our member offices and agents across the country, as well as people looking for funding. So it's really, when you see all these different topics come up, this is hindering us in some ways of doing our job.
Right.
People think the grass is greener, they can get non-PG funding somewhere else. So that's why we're bringing this to the forefront, because we want to help people, and knowledge is power. So at the end of the day, we're helping over hundreds of people every day.
Right.
And not getting into a funding program, but we want to get them on the right path of how to be in a better position. So people like Frank, one of our member offices, Marco Carbajo,
right.
These are our relationships, and we definitely want to, I'm a positive person, Tim. So when someone says, hey, Trey, I sell shelf corps, I do off trade lines, I have to bite my tongue and not pursue that relationship.
I have an example that goes to this whole getting defrauded, right? I had a new sales rep who was talking to a client for weeks trying to get him signed up, and at the point we had a $1,500 fee in order to start the funding process. The client wouldn't pay the $1,500, hemmed and hawed, and then one day just told my sales rep, because you know what, I just don't have the $1,500, I can't sign up for the service, and we thought we lost the client. And it was unfortunate because we had him projected to get $100,000. Then the sales rep called back the client a couple weeks later, and the client said, you know what, I signed up for some other company and I paid $20,000 for that service. And I happen to know that service was a complete and utter fraud. And it's a perfect example of what happens to somebody that they passed out on a real service, passed up on it that would have gotten them $100,000 because they don't want to put the $1,500 up, paid $20,000 to something that promised $500,000, and they ended up getting nothing and getting completely defrauded. I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you, because that would be a real shame. And now, if we're able to, Darren, are you able to pull up the website, Fund and Grow? We had a couple of people ask about Fund and Grow and Wilshire Financial Group. And while you're at it, how are we doing on subscribers? Have we hit the 1,000 subscribers yet?
7 short.
Oh, we're still 7 short. Come on, if you're watching this, subscribe, dang it. I want to hit 1,000 live while you're on the show so you can see the smile on my face. See the pure delight that comes when you subscribe. All right, Darren's going to see if he can pull those. Yep, 993. All right, we just need 7 more people. Somebody else is saying while we're waiting, is the surety bond the same as a bond 144A? Don't know. I don't know what that is.
What do you think, Darren?
I don't think he knows. He's trying to figure out how to pull up a website. Well, let's say while we're waiting.
I'll say something about Fund and Grow.
Okay.
So, there's a...
We know of the company, right?
Yeah, I know of the company. We have a referral partnership who sends us people looking for funding for their type of program. Oftentimes, I've seen over the last year, they also refer to Fund and Grow. So oftentimes people go to Fund and Grow first, then come to us, and at that point we can't help them because they've been shopped around dramatically.
Right.
Inquiries, very little results. So, they do provide a service. I don't know specifically all the. Oh, there goes Darren.
Awesome. Thank you for subscribing.
Yes.
Eloise.
Thank you.
All right, Fund and Grow. Okay, so Fund and Grow is one of those services where they go out and they get credit cards for you, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so looking at the website, let me tell you what I think is misleading about the website. $50,000 to $250,000 business credit at 0% interest. Now, that is misleading. Well, I'm going to call that pants on fire. Maybe you're watching CNN. That's how they analyze things. $50,000 to $250,000 in business credit. You can get business credit. You can get up to $250,000. What you really have is an introductory promo rate that can be as low as 0%. Sometimes that's 6 months. Sometimes it's up to a year. On personal cards, I've seen it go up to 18 months. But it's not financing at 0% interest. When you just look at it, it looks like you're getting permanent finance at 0% interest. So I would say that is definitely misleading. Oh, they have a little disclaimer next to it. If you click on it, it'll probably, Darren, I can't read it. That's too far away. Probably nobody else can, but
Yeah,
anyway,
so
it
it
probably
says here,
says,
there are a variety of banks and equity institutions that provide 0% business credit cards for a period of 6, 9, 12, and even 18 months. FINAGRO utilizes these seductive 0% interest offers.
Seductive,
and gives
seductive,
you the
nice
techniques to eliminate fees and leverage the best offers at the most competitive banks.
So I would say for me, Tim, with that phrase, the one thing jumps out at me is 250 is a large number, and so it's kind of
Not likely.
that was doable maybe 8-9 years ago,
right.
not now, and so I've seen people who've come for Fund and Grow, and they've gotten nothing close to that.
Thank you, Dr. CJ. Yeah, so probably it's a little misleading on how much funding they're going to get. The other side of it is they're calling it business credit. I happen to know that this company you're going to more likely to get way more personal credit than business credit. That's one of the reasons why our company, if you would apply with us, we'll tell you this is how much we can get in business only. This is how much we can get if we do business only, that some of it reports to personal. If you include personal cards, it goes to here. If you include personal term loans, it goes here. We're full disclosure and tell you exactly what you qualify for so that there's no confusion.
Give you the choice, right? So some companies out there will not give you the choice. You get what you get.
All right, now somebody is asking, Joe, many lenders are pushing revenue-based advances. People just assume that's what we're offering. How should we make it clear that we're not just doing that? Well, it's a great question because, hey, we just hit 1,000. Woo! All right, Trey. Silly putty.
There you go. There you go, Frank. There you go.
But it's stuck on my face now.
I know, there you go.
All right, we made it. And Darren told me not to shoot the air horn, so I won't. But thank you, everybody. Congratulations. We made it together.
All right, 1,000. Awesome job.
Woo! Okay, what the heck was I talking about?
You were...
Oh, how do we show that we're not just doing revenue advances? It's a great question. Whatever your advertising is, you just write this in there. Write in that we do SBA loans. Write in that we do personal financing that you don't have to have business revenue. It's not a daily payment loan.
Right, it comes down to this, Joe. You're not really promoting one product or one program. You're promoting the consultation. So what we're going to do is go over the scenario, go over what they're looking for, and place them in the right product. If it's an RBA, then great. Or if not, maybe an SBA or equipment financing. So we want the consultation to dictate the right solution.
Right, exactly. And one of the things is when we put it on the websites, it's actually somewhat limited information we put up on our landing page websites because some benefits are actually negatives for other people. And what we really want to do is get somebody in and talk to them. When I talk to somebody who's seeking financing, the first thing I ask is, what are you looking for? And then I almost immediately just completely forget it and figure out what they qualify for. And then I try to figure out, does what they qualify for, is there a way to have it serve their end goal? And that's just what it is. And sometimes it might be a revenue loan, but a lot of times it isn't because there's really a very specific use case that works for. So
it's important to us and all of our member offices that are doing the consultations that we know exactly what the client's looking for or the lead's looking for, know what their scenario it would be, and then provide clarity of what's a proper solution. And so we always do an internal review first to make sure we're on the right page as far as helping the client.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to be in a good mood the rest of the week. We hit our 1,000, and you guys got to go over the line with us. Wasn't that exciting? All right, come back next week, and we'll hear about our last 10 BDRA clients. I think you'll find it interesting. You get a lot of great uses for that. Oh, by the way, speaking of BDRA, I'll just throw this in there. We had a guy do a retirement rollover with us. There's very specific rules that you're supposed to follow when you do one. We disclosed this in advance, and he actually lied to us about what he's using the money for. He took the money and he went to, I'm not making this stuff up, Nigeria to buy gold, $300,000 worth of gold. He went to Nigeria, and what do you think happened?
Yeah. You didn't get any gold.
He didn't get killed, is probably the best news that we can take out of it, but he did lose all of his money. He went to a building, it was like the 12th story, and the next day he went back and the entire business was gone. It was like something out of a movie. So, watch out. And by the way, that was a long con. The guy had bought a little bit of gold and a little bit more gold and a little bit. It took him like 3 years. And finally he said, I'm going to pull out all the money out of my 401k and buy gold because I'm getting such a great rate. And what really happened is he got totally ripped off. and now he owes like another 150 grand in taxes for using the money for a prohibited purpose. So watch out for fraud. One life, you don't want to waste it investing in something that's totally bad.
All right, enough of this negativity. All right, so for next week, more blue skies
Right.
with Ben Morris in the BDA program.
All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for being with us on this exciting day, getting over the 1,000 line, and we'll see you next week. I look forward to doing a lot more deals together.
Thank you.